What happens when love and music intertwine? Find out in Lee Adams' newest release, Love on Tour. Set against the backdrop of a thrilling concert tour, this story explores passion, heartbreak, and finding your true melody. Perfect for anyone who believes in second chances and unforgettable moments. Don't miss out. Pre-order your copy at leeadamsbooks.com today and be part of the story that will rock your world.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch affairs.
It's probably the least sexy part of work, and I don't know. It's okay. No. The truth is.
Welcome to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I'm your host, Rich Bennett, and today I'm joined by Sophia Torrini, a certified clinical EFT practitioner and neurochange solutions trainer. Sophia's journey is one of true transformation. She started her career in public health, which is something we've talked about a lot on here, and network engineering, but a life-altering chronic illness shifted her path. When conventional medicine couldn't offer answers, Sophia turned inward and discovered emotional freedom techniques and neuroscience-based healing methods. That shift not only restored her health, but ignited her mission to help others break free from emotional and mental blocks. Her story is powerful, inspiring, and packed with insight. So grab your coffee or whatever you're drinking and settle in for a conversation that's it's going to change how you see healing. Trust me on that. How you doing, Sophia?
I'm doing great. Thank you for the lovely invite, and I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Oh, well, thank you. EFT, that's the tapping, right?
That's correct.
Okay, because I had somebody else on a while ago and learned about that, and I just find it amazing. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I want you to talk about when your health challenges first began. Sure. What was life like for you at that time?
So I worked in the corporate world, climbing the ladder, and some significant emotional loss that was set made me cause some physical symptoms, but I was in so much stress that when I ended up in the hospital, I trusted the physicians. So even though I spoke up and I had enough knowledge to know what they said I didn't have because I didn't match the age group, and I was working actually in surgery at the time.
Wow.
But to make a long story short, because I was on morphine for the pain, I ended up with a surgery I did not need.
What?
Yes. I ended up with a surgery that I never needed. And to make a longer story short, my lungs collapsed and I went unconscious for 2 days and I was expected to die. So,
oh my God.
I don't know how I lived, but 23 days later, I was in the hospital. I finally got out after refusing their treatments and forcing to do my type of, well, I mean, there's still medical treatments because I knew the people. I had worked for them. So.
Oh my God. What was it that you actually went in for originally?
Just abdominal pain and throwing up.
And they did the wrong surgery?
They did an exploratory surgery because they thought I had something and I didn't have it. Well,
Oh
that's
my.
how medicine works. That's usually the case.
Yeah.
The person misread the CAT scan, and it was in the middle of the night. It was considered emergency surgery. So it wasn't a scheduled surgery. It was an emergency surgery. So the physician came from home 2 a.m. in the morning. The surgery took place at 4 a.m. in the morning. And that was that.
All right, wait a minute. Now this scares the hell out of me. So you said they saw a person read the CAT scan wrong? You mean somebody doesn't go behind them and double check?
They didn't, because years later, I took those scans elsewhere, and there wasn't.
Oh my God.
But it was what it was. But the biggest thing, there's two learning lessons for me, that people under stress can be highly influenced. And that was,
well, yeah.
So I spoke up a couple of times. They kept on saying, "You're not a physician." Well, I said, I have enough medical knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't stand in my own power.
Oh my God. And when this happened, you were doing the network engineering, not the public health, right?
No, I used to do both.
At the same time?
Yeah. The network engineering, I had the degree, and I did it for people that I knew. I was certified in Novell. And
okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. A long time ago, and would set up their networks or fix their computers. I was actually working in healthcare. I was working for a surgeon, which is why I was familiar with the conditions. And I didn't match my age group. It was a condition that the person would have either if they were at 80s, 70s, or a baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So I take it from all that, that's what made you decide to start exploring options outside of traditional medicine?
Well, yeah. After I came out alive, which I wasn't expected to come out alive, and I had serious ailments now, the first question I had is, someone super healthy, because I was super healthy at the time, I ran, I ate healthy. Your body doesn't shut down overnight. It just doesn't. And, I got my lungs to collapse. I was on morphine for 23 days. God. So I started researching alternative stuff, and I wasn't finding very much, but I did not remove my organs, because one of my organs after the surgery failed. So I refused to remove it. I literally refused to remove it. And so I struggled for 16 years being ill. I'm glad I never removed it. And then eventually I fell into the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
It's amazing that you're walking today.
I still haven't figured out how I survived. Usually people who go unconscious and their lungs collapse don't live. I don't know how. I don't know. I didn't have an NDE. I have no recollection. I just don't know how it happened.
Oh my God. Okay. You mentioned, who's it? Dr. Joe Espinoza?
Dispenza.
All right. Who is, because I'm not from that field. Who is that?
The
name sounds familiar.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is a motivational chiropractor speaker who in neuroscience, who had an accident where he was run over by an SUV, was paralyzed, and healed himself. So he teaches principles of neuroscience and meditation. So he wrote, and it's a purely scientific book about brain waves, brain and heart coherence, how to change your thoughts. And that's what I started reading, and it started making a lot of sense for me. But the emotional component, because one of the components, you have to master your emotions, that was missing, and that's where EFT comes in.
Okay, so with the EFT, and I take it that's how you discovered it, by reading his book. I
discovered him first. I had read him first a few years before, and I discredited it because my degree is epidemiology. I have a master's in epidemiology, so I said, this can't work.
Right.
But then after complete desperation, and I couldn't get any more treatment, and constantly being in the same situation, I said that let me just give it a try. And when I read the book, I mean, I read all his books. They were all scientifically based.
So how has that actually changed your life, the EFT?
I'm off drugs and I've healed, and I don't take any drugs, including for stress or anxiety.
That's
I
awesome.
had all of that as well.
Actually, I did want to ask, going back a little bit, because you said they had you on morphine for 23 days. Mm-hmm. How hard was that when you got out of the hospital? Because I know a lot of people, especially if you're on morphine for that long, you become addicted. And you're just looking for something else.
No, that didn't come. I was so
good.
Thank goodness didn't come. But it blocks your emotion, makes your breathing very difficult. And had I stayed longer in the hospital, I was very lucky because I asked for an intervention because I knew the physicians.
Good.
I think 10 more days on morphine or 5 more days on morphine, I would have definitely died. So they had me to die in the first 3 days, but for whatever reason, I wasn't dead yet.
Oh my God.
So I recovered, I got off the ventilator, respirator, whatever it is. I don't remember what it was. I got off of that. And then eventually I realized now I'm in a bad situation. My body's not working. I'm not dead, so either I go through slow death or I have to do something about it.
Right.
I want to go through a slow, painful death. And that's when I made a choice. I am going to research some old remedies that they used to use in hospitals. And that jump-started my system, and I got discharged.
All right, so what was the aha moment for you? When things began to shift in your healing process?
Well, the nurse came to me. One of the nurses, it was the last day on her floor. And on that floor, she was going to the OBGYN afterwards. Mm-hmm. And she whispered in my ear, you're not going to come out of this floor alive unless you come up with some other modalities. You're a smart woman, and your brother is here who has a lot of knowledge. Go and research to see what you can do. And she said she also made a suggestion, get a TPN. The TPN is a feeding line from the vein.
Okay.
And we did that. That was war with the hospital, but we did that. And then I researched an old medication that is not administered anymore, neostigmine, that used to be used in the old days. And the first time it failed, my heart stopped. But the second time, I knew the doctor. I literally pleaded for him, and he gave me 2 doses. And 8 hours later, because I was scheduled for surgery, they wanted to remove my organs, and I was refusing. And that did the job.
One thing I don't understand is a lot of the old medicine worked, and they got rid of it. Mm-hmm. I think I know why, because they probably weren't making money anymore. But I just, and the same with the natural remedies. Mm-hmm. God, it just irks me. I'm sorry.
Too many patients coming in. They're worried about malpractice, and if they see there's something wrong, they just won't help that patient because. So they let them die because they don't want to get involved with it. And it's just a constant flow of patients. Some of the older doctors were very, very good. Mm-hmm. But now they just get this influx from everywhere. They don't even have to be fully board certified. They can get their training here, their fellowship. And it's... And they exhaust the physicians with these crazy shifts. You expect the physician to figure things out when they haven't had sleep for days? It's not humane. So they have them in a system that's very competitive, and everyone's trying to make a name and survive for themselves. And they don't have the time to research, but there's a bigger issue. The articles they get is censored already. So they never, yes, there is. The PubMed or whatever they get is shortened and whatever, and the big powers that be have altered. If you go back and dig at the original studies, they're written differently, or there's more information in it.
And they're probably taking away important information.
Absolutely.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, look what happened a few years ago.
Well, yeah, that is true. That very true. All right. So for my listeners out there that don't understand what EFT is, can you describe what it actually is
Absolutely.
and how it works?
Yes.
Because I find it amazing.
Oh, it works wonders. So EFT, clinical EFT, first of all, is evidence-based EFT. So there's clinical trials for it. And it's a combination of cognitive psychotherapy and having acupuncture without needles. So we tap on the body's meridians where you usually put the needles. And so the energy flows. Why? Because emotions are energy in motion, and it's believed that all disease is a lowering of frequency or emotions not being processed. And I'll explain that a little bit more later on. So those emotions get stored in various organs based on what the emotion is. For example, the liver holds anger. The lungs hold grief. The heart holds heartache. The kidneys hold fear. We know that from Chinese medicine. So
I didn't even know that. Wow. Okay.
So by tapping and breathing in the belly, which a lot of people don't do when they do EFT, by breathing fully in the belly, and there's a reason why we breathe in the belly. When the diaphragm moves, the body feels safe. So we want to bring the body in a state of feeling safe. And now we're tapping, verbalizing what the situation is. We're having our awareness where it is on the body. And that stuck energy starts to move. And that's how EFT works. So that energy that was stored moves. Let's address why the energy gets blocked. First of all, energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted. So a low frequency emotion of anger can be transmuted to forgiveness or to peace or to neutrality. So low frequency emotions hinder the body for healing. They actually cause disease.
Okay.
And what are emotions? Emotions is chemistry that comes from the limbic brain that has information. And if the emotion is not felt, and most of us growing up, and especially me in the hospital, I couldn't feel anything with the morphine. Yeah. They get stuck in your body. And we were meant to feel emotions because emotions is energy in motion. So emotions are supposed to come in, flow out, in and out. And then they get stuck. And before you know it, you're 60 and out of nowhere, you get a heart attack because you never processed that heartache or whatever it is. Because if it's the heart, it's related to some sort of a heartache or some sort of something. And that's how it works. So that's what EFT is in a nutshell. Now, we do know EFT downregulates 6 genes for stress, and one of them is cortisol, and does downregulate genes for disease.
Wow. All right. So how hard was this for you to learn?
It wasn't very hard. I had read about it, and I thought, this doesn't work. But when desperation came and I got a good practitioner at the time, she was really very good for me. Very like the German Gestapo. I needed her. I really needed that mentality. All the emotions were starting to come up out of nowhere. So when I started, I actually had a practitioner. She was very nice to accommodate me Saturdays and Sundays, 7 days a week.
All right. So when you were going to her, was she actually tapping on you or teaching you how to tap yourself?
Zoom, and I was tapping on me. And then in a short period of time, I realized this works. And she made a nice suggestion.
What was that?
You just take a class. There's a task, a class being taught. It might be helpful for you just to take it. Just watch it. I'm going to be an auditor. And then she says, why don't you take the test? And then I took the test and says, well, why don't you just give it try. So that, after the test, you have to do 50 clients. And then I said, well, that's not a real degree. It's not a master's or a PhD. Who wants to do this stuff? So I did well. I got the clients 50 sessions that I had to do, 2 case studies. And then I got my first client. And when I saw my first client changing, that's when I said, that's it.
Wow. So wait a minute. So you saw your first client changing before you actually felt yourself changing?
I was healing. I think I was almost healed, but that's when I made the commitment. I'll stick with it.
Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when it was healing you, it wasn't just physically, but it was also emotionally and mentally as well, right?
Well, it was mostly the emotions and certain stories that I told myself for situation. I saw they weren't true.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So when it sounds like when you're doing this tapping, which I forgot how to do it. I got to try it again. It sounds like you're releasing, I guess, toxins or whatever. Is that?
Well, I just said, yeah, you hit it right. I said that the limbic brain produces chemistry that gets stored.
Right.
You're releasing, though, that toxic energy in your body. You just hit it.
How hard is that to try to convince people of? Because, a lot of people believe in modern medicine and not these other techniques. But I've talked to several people that use this, crystal Reiki. I mean, a lot of different things. And it's amazing the differences that it does.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I'll give you 2 stories. First, founder. Okay, Gary Craig gave it for free to the world. Now, then, of course, it got monetized by other people. He's close to his 80s. I think it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, I think 2 years now, had a stroke, paralyzed on one side. 4 months later, he has a Zoom call next week. He's completely healed and computer literate. He can do the PowerPoint, he can do the this and the that. He's 80-something years old, and he was an engineer. He was not into psychology. He was working with someone, and I don't know how it came to him. I don't remember the full story. Completely healed. I have 2 other stories. I had a woman with Tourette's. Tourette's is the person has uncontrollable movements.
Right.
And sometimes they also curse or they.
Right.
Okay, so I took her history. She said it started at 4. I said, no, it didn't start at 4. It started before. So there's a method with EFT and hacking reality. I did a birth reimprint because that's what my intuition was telling. So we go through the birth process. She imagines being in the womb. So all of a sudden at the 2nd trimester, we're in, sometimes I do it I can't do it all in one session. So we got to the 2nd trimester. She starts cursing, the Tourette's gets activated. So I asked her what she saw. So she felt or saw her mother being slammed on the crib by her dad. So her face was being slammed on the crib by her dad, which explains the jerky movements. Tourette's has these weird jerky movements and explains the anger she had for the father. After that session, the Tourette's was almost eliminated.
Wow. Sure.
And this morning, I just had a client. So she's had a frozen shoulder for years, and she kept a secret. Something unfortunate happened when she was young, didn't say anything to anyone. And she has not disclosed it, so we worked on it. She hasn't been able to move the shoulder, and we worked on that. And she had some resentment because she wasn't protected with what happened. Well, the shoulder moved. At first, energy came to the shoulder, and the shoulder that she couldn't move at all moved. it's not fully healed because we, moved partially, and then she was
Right.
able to roll it. And guess what it was for? When she was in that situation, she wanted to push this person away, and she couldn't. And the shoulder got frozen. So the chemistry is she's unable to move, so the shoulder freezes. And this is based on German new medicine too, which is I combine both. And so now we know what it is. And it's the first time in a very long time. And then she got a cognitive shift why the other person didn't protect her, because this person had pushed the other person. I don't want to reveal too much information to expose the client. So, and that was the story.
Do you deal with a lot of clients that have gone through some type of trauma, or all your clients that way?
Some sort of trauma. Pretty much all of them, either being some sort of beating or some mistreatment in the marriage. I get a lot of medical, and I do get some of sexual assault.
Oh, God.
And it's terrible.
I take it after these sessions, after you finish with a client, do you have to go back tapping yourself? Because I would think that's got to be a lot on your emotions when you're hearing their stories.
I don't have to do it, especially when I see the person has a cognitive. So for healing, we need a cognitive shift. If the person doesn't have a shift, but when they get for the majority of them who have a cognitive, I have a joy. For the ones that are stuck, those are the ones that affect me.
Okay.
I'm wondering, what is it that I haven't done? But it's not always up to me. The person has to be open to feel. So they're terrified of going through 10 minutes of sobbing. They think the 10 minutes of sobbing is going to kill them. But the 10 minutes of sobbing is what made the shoulder, the Tourette's, whatever it is, heal. And that is when I get saddened, or when they're too uptight and they're in their head. That's when I go back and tap. Or when something I say triggers them, that's when I go back and I have to clear. Yes. So do I have to clear? Yes, I do, but not for the ones, not for a certain type of people. So I do have a few people that I have to do a lot of clearing. I get ticked off.
And I guess too, as of any job, you're going to have your challenges. Mm-hmm. All right. So, and Sophia, be honest with me. Are there any clients that you had where the transformation was just so unbelievable, it just brought you to tears and tears of joy?
Oh, absolutely. I had a woman, and then this is where I'm going to go a little out there. She jumped to another parallel timeline. So the other person was behaving different, because I do believe we are, just as quantum physics says, we live in a multi-universe, and there's many timelines, and that has brought me a lot of joy. She would enter the reality. She couldn't always stay too long, and the people in that reality would behave completely different. You wouldn't even remember events that they discussed yesterday. So that brought me a lot of joy. And then I had a lovely situation the other day with a woman who had a condition that was bringing her so much shame. I'm seeing her because she's a new client, this week.
Right.
50% reduction of her symptoms.
What?
Yeah, but it was related to a very traumatic, unfortunate childhood experience. So I'd like to address that. Our symptoms today are not coming from today.
Right.
The trigger is coming from today, but the actual imprint of the condition is coming from childhood. So, and strange enough, her condition started at 19, yet the trigger was at, she was 8.
I was going to say, because I've talked to other people, they said most of the time it's something that happened in your childhood, somewhere between the ages, I believe the average was between 5 and 8.
Well, it's from the womb till 7, and I extended to the 13. Yes, because remember the Tourette's? It's in the womb.
Oh, yeah.
Because the embryonic fluid is going to the child, so the mother's information is coming. So it's after when the child gets a heartbeat. Till 7 is the tradition. I extended a little bit till 13. But the symptoms, according to German New Medicine, starts not on the stress phase. It starts when there's some sort of an acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement could be negative or positive. So most people think that the symptoms are in the stress phase, but for most conditions, the symptoms are in the healing phase when the body has relaxed, the tiger is away, or the stress factor is away. Here, I'm going to throw the symptoms to you so you can fix it, because you're not running from the tiger, because our limbic brain is the old brain that we have. So the programming is that. So most people think that the symptom is happening from the now. It has nothing to do with the now.
Wow. You're listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. We'll be right back. I've got to share something with you. If you're in Maryland and thinking about real estate, you've got to check out Daniel McGee and the Victory Team. A close friend of mine sold their house with them, and honestly, I was blown away by the smoothness of the process and the level of care they received. And it's not just them. Several others in my circle have had similar experiences. Daniel and his team have this personal touch that's just so rare these days. They actually listen and tailor their services to fit exactly what you need. And with fees way lower than the industry standard, you really feel like you're getting luxury service without that hefty price tag. So whether you're buying or selling, go to victoryteamsells.com and get started with Daniel McGee and his incredible team. Believe me, with them, it's not just a transaction, it's a relationship. With your clients, what's, I guess, one of the biggest challenges that you've actually faced so far?
I have a lot of sadness when I try to have them open up and they're just stuck in their story.
Right.
They just can't, whatever. And I don't bring up forgiveness because it has to come naturally from the client. And just, first of all, the person is justified in the beginning only to not forgive, so we can release the anger, the resentment, the pain, or whatever it is, and the shame. But after that's all released, it has to come naturally from you to let it go. Forgiveness is not done for the other person. It's done for you. And because you're releasing that energy. And it makes me sad when they do that. And the other thing that makes me sad is when the person gets a positive result and then they recoil because they self-sabotage. No one does it consciously. So I don't want to say that people do it consciously. No one does it consciously, but you got a little window that there's a better life here. And you had what you had, either 50, 40, 30 years. It's going to take a little work to get there. So they see the little result and then they recoil back to their old behavior. And that totally saddens me. Or the other part that saddens me, and I'm going to address this because the spiritual community, just to be in the positive. Be in the positive. You can't have poison in the body and put lipstick on a pig. So, and I'm not recommending for them to stay in the angry and vindictive state. I'm recommending or suggesting feel the anger, the vindictiveness, because whatever you're feeling is legitimate. You want to kill the person, don't go and physically kill them, tap on it, and then let it out, and now go and change your vibration to a loving gratitude vibration.
Right.
And so I have a big problem with that, or people doing affirmations. It's not going to pass the brainstem. You're angry and fuming, no affirmation is going to pass, and I'll explain the reason so the audience can know. When we're angry, we're in beta brainwaves. So nothing's going to enter the subconscious. The only time we enter the subconscious when we're in alpha, theta, or delta brainwaves. So you could be reading your affirmation all day long and you're in beta brainwaves, it's not working.
Huh. So, well, and I guess with that anger, you gotta feel it in order to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just going to stay trapped in there. It's well, that is the toxin.
Well, cancer, one of the emotions for cancer is anger. We know, I mean, even normal medicine has found it.
Yeah.
Any cancer has a component of anger. And so there's a difference between emotions and feelings. Emotions, I didn't study it, but they studied it some woman at Harvard, I can't remember her name, 90 seconds. If you can feel the emotion without a story, the energy is going to move out of you in 90 seconds. Now, I'm not that good, but now my emotions are moving much faster. Feelings is when you start, it's changing. So I'll give you an example. Middle of the night, 4 a.m. in the morning, you hear a noise in the kitchen as if someone's breaking in. So all of us are going to feel this alert because your reticular activating system woke you up, and you're going to feel some sort of fear. Okay? So you go to the kitchen and you see the cat was locked out. So one person says, okay, it was the cat. The other person, so this is an emotion, okay?
Right.
Now the other person, I can't believe the cat did it, and why do we have the cat, and my boyfriend wanted the cat, and I should have murdered this cat and got rid of his cat. What are you doing now? You're creating a feeling that's getting stuck in the body, and now it's looping. And that you're actually putting more and more and more energy in the body. And what we do, most of us, including me, that's why we start out, I can't believe this is so unfair, or this is so unfortunate. And what did the Buddha teach? Just feel the emotion. Just be the observer, feel it without all the commentary. If we can get to that point, our emotions are going to be gone in 90 seconds.
That was a great example. It's one of the reasons I don't watch the news anymore. Holy cow. How long have you been doing this now?
Since 21.
That's it? Oh, come.
No, but I've been studying this stuff, other stuff, since 2013. And then I started, at 21, I was certified. Or no, it must have been 20. I'm sorry, not 21. I made a mistake. 2020, I was certified, but I started doing EFT in 2018.
Wow.
Remember, I did 7 sessions a week. So I wasn't doing once a week. I got the hang of it pretty fast.
And now you're helping people, but you're also teaching it?
I have gotten the course for teaching it. I haven't done the mentoring. I teach a neuroscience class.
Oh.
I don't teach EFT.
All right. Well, explain this neuroscience class.
So this is the course of that was created by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's an interactive, live-only course that spans close to 16 hours. Okay. And we discuss how your personality creates your personal reality. And then we break it down, what in your environment, body, and time is triggering you, what is being in survival, what it is being in creation, what are brain waves, how to change your brain waves, mental rehearsal, and meditation.
Meditation. Wait a minute. Mental rehearsal?
Yeah, mental rehearsal. Yeah.
What is that?
Pretty much imagining the new reality. That you mentally rehearse where you want to be.
Okay, and I'm glad you said meditation because I think that's very important. I think everybody needs to do that.
Absolutely. So we do all that, and we cover another component, how thoughts trigger the limbic brain and how it comes down into the body and so if it's anger, it's going to activate the adrenals, and there's an image that flashes at the back of your head when you have emotions. It does for all of us. So, for example, you want coffee. You wake up in the morning, you want coffee. Your brain has an image of coffee at the back when you think about it, and then you walk to the kitchen. So that's what happens.
Which is why it's so natural.
Yes, and then I forgot one more thing. We teach the three brains and how they work: the neocortex, the limbic brain, and the cerebellum, and what their functions are. And then we discuss what a mood is, what a personality is, and we cover
really
that. Yeah, it's pure science with a lot of exercises, so people can get awareness about their life.
So it's not just for somebody who wants to get certification; it's for anybody, really.
Absolutely. It's been taught, individuals take it. And it was when Dr. Joe Dispenza taught it was taught to Coca-Cola, to Google. They've already been trained.
I was going to ask if it would be, if you think it would be good for businesses to take.
It is.
Oh, okay. So, something very important. Then how do they get in touch with you to take these classes?
Yeah. Well, there's trainers, and it's more on team building versus. So the whole course is how to learn how to create in creation and not in survival, because in survival we're competing.
Mm-hmm.
And also we make the wrong choices, and we see things differently. So we want to create when we are in creation. We want to manifest and do, but we also have to find out where our limiting beliefs comes. And most people, it's just the thought patterns. No, but they're triggers in your home. So it could be people, places, smells, and then and then it's your body. A lot of people recoil when they get these bodily sensations. They get the knot in their stomach and they're frozen. So we identify what those are. And then once they take the course, you use EFT, it's magic.
So, and this is all done online?
Mm-hmm.
Has any corporations asked you to come actually to their physical location and teach this?
I haven't done it with corporations. I've done it with individuals.
Oh, just individuals, right.
Yes, I'm actually thinking of approaching hospitals, but my colleagues have done it on a lot of corporations.
I think you need to too.
I will.
Come on now, Sophia. Just branch out and help everybody. Actually, have you thought about writing a book yet?
Down the road, yes. I'm writing a little ebook that's a little different. It's not plain EFT, that discusses how reality is created, the double slit experiment, and the quantum eraser, which is very important. So there was a second experiment that got the Nobel Prize, that when you make a change now, it goes back in time and changes the events. And I happen to do hacking reality, which is exactly what I use, where you rewrite the story in the past so the person now moves to a parallel timeline.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I do. And I want to address for the audience, and I know they're going to think that's strange. I actually did not heal. I moved to a parallel timeline where my body was healed.
All right. So how do you actually know that, though?
Because that's what the teachings show. So personality has to change. So there's multiple yous going on right now. There's not just one.
Right.
So the personality of me that was ill, was victimized, had anger, had fear, was in survival. So through the tapping process and the constant re-imprinting that was done with the practitioner, those emotions left, Therefore, I'm not a vibrational match to that body because all realities exist. My consciousness has to go in to animate them, right? So I left that body and I moved to a parallel body that was whole. And it gives a lot of hope for people who have chronic condition, because the first thing they say, well, I've been in for 40 years. Well, you're not healing this body.
Right.
You're healing your mind, and you're moving to a parallel timeline where your body is whole.
Oh, yeah. You got to get this book written.
Yeah. And how do we know that too? Of the last Nobel Prize for non-locality, 2022. They just got to know. So we have 3 major experiments that pretty much prove these principles.
Oh, I got to really look into this. This is interesting. I mean, because when you talk about the parallel, a lot of times people think of the Marvel movies, with the multi-universe and all that. But this, you got me. Oh man, you got my interest going down. This is something I definitely want to research.
So I have blogs on the first 2, the double slit. So let's break it down. So what does the double slit tells us? That when they used a laser and it goes through 2 slits. When no one's observing, you get multiple lines. You don't get 2 lines. Or it could have been a single slit, okay?
Right.
You don't get 1 line. You get multiple lines, which means, and it shows from the wave functions, the particle could be anywhere. There's many, 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 many lines, right? Then you put a cat or a computer or a physical human being, you redo the experiment, you now get a single line. So what does that tell us? Our consciousness is collapsing the reality. And what does the Bible say? In my house are many mansions. Let me prepare one for you. So where you put your consciousness, that's the reality that's going to be created. How reality is created? Your thoughts, emotions, actions, and deeds. That's it. There's no other component to how reality gets created.
Ooh.
So
you ought to do a podcast about all this too. I guarantee you there's a lot of people you could get on to talk about this.
Well, thank you. I'm working little by little towards it.
Are you really?
Yeah, no, I am. It's for some people it goes off whatever, but I'm open to attracting people who get it. But I have to meet the client where they are. But if a person wants true healing between this principles of quantum physics and German new medicine that says all disease is biological, it's a biological program, or metaconscious, it's called also metaconsciousness, that's where true healing. So we master our emotions first, then we master our thoughts. That's now we become the creators of our lives. Because we're in someone else's reality with the bombardment of the news, the stories of all these illnesses, and what happened a few years ago, because I don't want to put my own comments, people were like sheep going to the slaughterhouse. We just got lost.
Yeah.
So we're taking our power, but to take our power, we need to start taking back our energy. And what is a belief? Because people need to know that. Belief is B, the word belief, B, in, the N was cut off, lie. So beliefs are lies. When you know, it comes from the heart. There's a knowing. There is no belief. That's why we want to I teach brain and heart coherence. So certain things I know. There's nothing you can give me. I already know. The heart knows. The mind, it's this or it's that. So beliefs, you're always in a lie, even if it's a positive belief. Be in a lie.
Wow. That's You're blowing me away here. Sophia,
a little out there.
Huh?
I said it was a little out there.
No, but that's awesome. Because this just, I love taking this stuff in. One of the reasons I do this, I love to learn from other people. And or if they tell me something, this is something I want to look more into. That's why when I told you before we started recording about the tapping, I never knew about tapping. And then I had somebody on and they told me about, it's like, and I think she said she even grew an inch after doing it because she had lost, I forget what you call it, her spine or whatever. And I think a lot of people are afraid to accept what other people suggest. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah. So I'm going to give one of Neville Goddard's quote, who was, I was a big fan of him. He's a famous mystic that died.
Okay.
You don't have to believe it. First try it, but try it with the proper steps. Mm-hmm. You can't change the order of the steps. Give it ample time. And if it doesn't work, then forget it. But most people try to do it their way. There's a particular recipe. You can't bake something or fry eggs. You can't, change the order, right? So you can't put the egg there without breaking it, then put the oil and then crack it. It just doesn't.
I love the way you explain these things. That's awesome.
So EFT, if you're consistent, and most people, this you asked me what saddens. People come to me and they want change in 2 sessions. Okay, so you had the condition or 3 for 50 years. Therapy takes forever to change. Okay, so if the person wants drastic change and they can tolerate in the beginning emotional upheaval, because in the beginning all your emotions are going to come up, you commit for 6 months, 3 times a week or 2 times a week, and you do the steps. And what I do differently, which is very important, you don't wait in between your sessions and do nothing. You actually do tap. There's some assignments they get. It's either a gratitude assignment or some questions they do. There's some quantum questions. They're called Cartesian questions. So you find limiting beliefs, or you meditate, which is an absolute. I meditate every day for an hour and a half.
For an hour and a half? Wow.
And that's what you do. Now 6 months, I guarantee you, you will be a different person.
Got to follow the recipe.
And
I've never heard it put like that, but that makes perfect sense.
There has to be a person to have a commitment. And will you go through the end? So I went through my angry stage, and I, would say this is not working. This is not working. And I still work with someone. I don't need to, but I do, because I can't see my own blind spots. I don't do 7 days a week anymore. That's long gone. But I do 2. And sometimes I don't need it, but I always regular. Maybe every so often I'll skip a week. I have regular, and I tap every day by myself. And I went through the tantrum phase like little kids. I was angry. This doesn't work. I can't believe the universe is doing it. Nothing's changing. And I would be upset. But even when I was doing that, I was releasing my anger.
Wow. So your mental health is 110% better now. Physical wise, emotionally, all that, you're doing well, you're doing better, you're helping other people.
And I love what I do.
That's important too. That's very important, because a lot of people do something but they don't love it. And that's something I was always taught by my father. You got to love your job, otherwise, or career, whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, it's time to find something new. You got to love what you're doing and have fun. And I bet you do have fun too, don't you?
I do. And there's also another benefit. Sometimes the student becomes better than the teacher. So they're
Ooh.
more motivated. And so when I have my downs and I see the client motivated, I say to myself, snap out of it. So
Wow.
a lot of benefits. So it's a back and forth, because who is the other person? They're a projection of you, right?
Right.
So you're seeing them on your own filter. So when they're getting better than you, and you, for some reason, something happened and you got lost in your crazy thoughts, because it's the thoughts that, cause all of the stuff, the suffering, then you say, you know what? This person overcame a worse situation that I didn't have, so I might as well snap out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it, it's like, how many times does the teacher actually learn from the student?
Many times, all the time.
Yep, exactly. I mean, that's how you get better at what you do. You got to be open and be able to learn more. So, Sophia, before I get to my last question, is there anything you would like to add besides your website, of course?
What do I want to add for my services?
Anything.
Okay, well, first of all, before we go to the services, no matter where you're at, and if it's a healing situation, regardless of your age, what you eat, your size, whatever it is, or the trauma, under the correct conditions, the body knows how to heal itself. It just knows how to heal. So it doesn't matter where you at, how horrible your life is, there's a way out of it. I got out of it, so I was no different. And I was stubborn.
Right.
I was indoctrinated in the medical field. So there's a way out of it. And I have articles if you want to check out on my website. I offer a complimentary session to explore, and I offer a free masterclass, and there's one coming on the 17th at 12 noon EST time to learn more information on neuroscience. And knowledge is the precursor to experience. So when the person gets educated to see how this works, why it works, you're more inclined to do it. And there's a better you on the other side, an absolute more refined, stress-free you. And I think that for all.
I love that. And all the different services you offer, the EFT.
The course, Change Your Mind, Create New Results. And I also do intuitive readings to find out stuck patterns, or based on what I'm reading, what timeline they're headed. So then they have to tweak it to change, because I do not believe in fixed readings. Okay, so if I see something in the future, if you change your behavior, you will change the result. So your future is not fixed. You're the one who's creating your own future. But I can see your trajectory, where you're headed. So if you stay in this situation, I'll say you're headed for divorce. So you need to work on these things in order to avoid that, if that's what you want.
And what's the website?
tapintourbestself.com.
All right. How in the world did you come up with that?
Well, tapping.
I know the tapping part, but I'm surprised that it was available.
Yeah, it was. It was. And I thought it was the best thing, and I liked it. And there is a best self, future self for you already out there. And we want to align to that future self.
I love that. All right. So what is the next big thing for Sophia Torrini?
To be able to make this more open and easier for all the clients or all the people that are out there and make the concept simple for them to grasp, so they can embrace change. I don't want it to be super scientific. I want to open it up and explain it in a way that they're ready to jump in for it and say, you know what, I can do that.
You were quick. Usually people take time to answer, but you knew right away.
I didn't think about it.
I know. I love that. Sophia, I want to thank you so much. And not just for coming on, but for teaching me, because there's some more things that I've learned about, and I cannot wait to start digging after I get my taxes done, of course, to start digging in to research more about the parallel universe. It just, all that just, it amazes me. And oh God.
There's a great movie. I'll recommend one that has been pushed aside. Frequency.
Yeah.
Is a great, watch it again, knowing how you can shift timelines. The Parallel Doors is good, but Frequency, and the other one with going back in time. Who was the actor who was paralyzed?
Christopher Reeves?
Yes. There's a very good movie where he goes back in time and he uses some sort of hypnosis. So that is, and people actually can jump to all, people who are trained meditators. I only saw a glimpse once. I accidentally could see another parallel timeline, but you can jump in time. The 13th Floor is a very good movie to understand how our reality kind of is, because it's nested. And of course, the one with the dreams, was it called Infusion? The one that you go a dream within the dream. I forgot who did that.
I don't remember that one now.
Yeah. So there are a few movies. The one that's excellent is the French version, not the American, Parallel. And there was a great one on Amazon. One of the guys, I forget his name, they used to do commercials for insurance, and it talks two realities. That's pretty close to how the multiple realities work. It's not like the Marvel. Pretty close.
Right.
I can't remember. Right. It had great. It's the rating is about a 9. He's the bald guy who I used to do insurance all the time.
Oh, you're talking about Jake. Oh God, what's his name? Skinny guy.
Yep.
Older guy, just played in the Netflix movie of Santa Claus, Red One or whatever.
I don't know if that one, but he's the famous one for the insurance. He did a great TV series, Berlin during World War II, where the two realities split. That's superb. I watched it all. Very clear, very well done. So people can grasp. And if they read the double slit quantum eraser, then you understand how the now can go back in time to change. Richard Feynman, who got the Nobel Prize years ago, started talking about it, but he didn't get the Nobel Prize for that. That you can go backward and forward in times, because time moves forward, but it also moves backwards.
Interesting. Ooh, I got a lot of research to do, don't I? And movies to watch. I got to explain to my wife when we eat dinner now. Sorry, can't watch Holiday Baking Championship. I got to watch this instead. Sophia, thank you so much.
Thank you for being a wonderful host and being open to my point of view. I really appreciate it, because you guided me and allowed me to speak the way I wanted to talk.
Thank you for listening to the Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going.